Previously,
it's with sylabdul.
Saudi conversation, because again, let's just be clear what's being said with this. Since I've been covering this for over 4 years, I've kind of had my finger on the pulse all this time. Why was Zack Snyder like this post? We know. Again, my viewers, y'all should have known this for over 6 months now, that this was a possibility. Because we talked about Zack Snyder being real close with Turkey Al-Sheikh and the crew from Saudi Arabia. Turkey Al-Sheikh is part of this PIF public investment fund. They have nearly $1 trillion. They were in on the WWE deal, and they're also basically creating their own film studios over there in Saudi Arabia. What I heard earlier this year, and actually I'll just play what I heard earlier this year, and I put this out there as well. They already, I would say, they already expressed interest. Now I don't know if it's Turkey Al-Sheikh's team or if they, group funding this. They've already showed interest. They've expressed interest to Warner Brothers already. So Zazav already knows that if he want to sell this in pieces, that he has buyers like already lined up. Like they, and Comcast, like I said, with them, they didn't want to take on the whole, conglomerate by itself. The Saudis, they probably want it in pieces as well too. But I'm just saying, talks. There's already been communication, y'all. Like I'm just. So my understanding was, and actually I even heard it even before I talked about it on my channel months ago. So we're not surprised, right? Maybe other people are surprised. Maybe other people don't understand. We're not surprised as far as this development, but.
It's Coffee Talk with sylabdul. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe now.
Wake up in the morning, eyes crusty, heavy yawning. My phone keep going off, so I shut off the alarm and then head into the kitchen to get the coffee brewing. French roast with French vanilla, my own French revolution. Next movement is to tune into Coffee Talk with Sil. My girl is toss a yap if I tell her she need to chill. I hear enough of the yapping from all of these goofy shills. Plus I'm trying to be informed of whatever's the latest deal. For real.
I take no pleasure being the I told you so guy. People like that always say I told you so. They could be very annoying, but sometimes I have to say I told you so. Now, first off, this being on the main podcast channel, this is a channel for my long form content. Shout out to y'all supporting this. We also have the short form content on sylabdul Geek Network. And I said on one of my recent videos over there on the Geek Network channel, that's where I have my shorter videos at sylabdul Geek. Check it out over there. I said, yo, when Paramount tried to deny the report, that true leak that came out that Paramount was partnering with 3 Arab nations, including the PIF, the Saudis, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar. It was so detailed, that leak. I was like, okay, this is a real partnership. And then Paramount said it's categorically incorrect. And you have novices on social media that just took it at face value. Oh, Paramount denied it, so if it's in the trade, come on now. We've seen real leaks as far as on this platform. We've covered fake leaks. We've covered fake news, real news, everything. And when that story dropped about Paramount, David Ellison partnering with the Arab nations, it rung so true. It was a true leak. I feel Warner Brothers leaked that out to help, encourage other people to step up their bidding. Because they're like, oh, Paramount's taking a big swing, a real power move. Now that was a leak. Paramount was upset about that. They was like, hey man, this is confidential. We can't confirm or deny this, really. the same day Paramount supposedly denied the connections with Arab nations, including the Saudis, David Ellison ended up meeting up with the Prince of Saudi himself, and President Trump was there as well too. So yeah, it was just a premature leak. They tried to put the fire out. It worked again on novice people who just believes everything they read. I like to look at the context clues and see what's real and what's not. And that was a real leak, right? And I also said, like I said, on the Geek Network channel, where I do more, again, frequent, shorter videos, I was like, there's going to be other independent sources that's going to confirm that Variety report. Other people's sources are going to start hearing the same thing, or they're going to confirm it or double down and deny it. Well, this is one example of the after Paramount denied it. I saw like 3 other trades, and you got other I don't know, business scoopers online. They was like, no, this is real. It's real. And we got this report here. Why is David Ellison bringing in the Arab nations, including the Saudis? It's not because the Ellisons need the money. If the price, now the reports are coming out that to buy Warner Bros. Discovery overall, it'll probably be less than the $70 billion. All right, because that was the figure when we talked about the Saudi Arabia potentially trying to buy all of Warner Brothers. The number was 70 billion. But we know this administration, they're not going to allow a foreign company, come in and buy Warner Brothers whole. So the Saudis had to partner with someone. So that was the number 70 billion. Now is kind of being discussed. It may be under that 70 billion total. But David Ellison, he has the money. If they had to just buy it straight up, 70 billion, Paramount could easily buy it. But this is why Paramount is cutting in the Arab nations. It's really this is a multiple power play. That says partnering with the Arab funds gives David Ellison a stronger case to get an acquisition done and blocks Comcast. So this is like a muscular move, as they say. A muscular move has multiple. It satisfies multiple things at the same time. So you make one move, and it covers multiple goals. It's come out again with other outlets that Paramount is in advanced discussions with Saudi, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. According to other people, these talks have been around for months. So when I heard about this in March, and I told the live viewers, that's how long this probably has been going on, or shortly after I heard about it, that they were planning, that the Saudis were, again, structuring some kind of bid or partnering with someone. Now, David Ellison is cutting them in, again, not because he needs the money, but it's because David Ellison wants to do the best deal for the Trump administration. Politics becomes involved with this as well, too. Trump wants more Saudi interests connected with the United States. And on top of that, Trump doesn't like CEO of Comcast, Brian Roberts. So this is personal and petty at the same time, but it's still business. And if David Ellison cuts in the Saudis, this would mean that they won't partner with Comcast instead, right? Because we heard about that trip that Brian Roberts made to Saudi Arabia. David Ellison, again, is pulling this muscular move to block Comcast, have the Saudis on his side, and also sweeten the deal for the Trump administration. Again, even though Paramount publicly came out and denied the Variety report that they were, and let's make this clear too, what Paramount was basically denying about that report wasn't, first, they didn't even tell you what was incorrect about the report, right? And that's the first thing we notice when someone denies something. That's why I said there's a lot of novices out there. I'm sorry, we're in the advanced game right now. Been covering the business behind this stuff for a while. It's just time to start cutting people out who don't know what they're talking about. Right? That was a true leak. When they came out with that denial, it was one of the fakest denials I ever saw. But what they did actually deny, what was actually wrong about that report wasn't the Arab investors. It was the total, 71 billion. Paramount's like, no, we're not committing to 71 billion if we don't have to. that was the part of it that was actually not true. And then reports are now coming out now that the number is going to be lower. So you don't want that report floating around that you're going to come up with 71 billion when you probably only need 65 or whatever the total is. So that made sense. That actually made sense. But they never denied the Arab involvement. Now, again, other people are hearing multiple independent sources, independent trades, or trades that's independent of each other. It's real. They're including them in this deal. And so since we're expecting, again, the Saudi involvement and with the Arab nations, on my Geek Network channel, we talked about the terms of that leak, the terms of that deal where they could use a major IP. All the Arab nations, the three, can access a major IP of Warner Brothers. That's part of their deal. That means it could be DC, it could be Harry Potter, whatever. We're going to be seeing some huge films coming from this deal. Just sit the DC and the Snyderverse just aside just for a moment. We're going to be seeing some wealthy nations coming in with heavy funding, and they want to make some blockbusters. And so, of course, with the Saudi side of this, and we'll break this down further on this episode, but I have strong reasons to believe that they will want to do DC, namely the Snyderverse. And we're now at the point where the three companies that's publicly bidding on Warner Brothers has been revealed. We have the first round of non-binding offers. Basically, Zazzab is getting a temperature test, a temperature check on all these three companies that's seriously wanting to bid. Zazzab will bring it to the rest of the board, and they'll see what's most financially viable, the most financially viable step going further for Warner Brothers. Is it to split? Is it to partner, merge with one of these companies and then spin off the cable channels? There's a lot of different scenarios that this can go. But we're at the point, again, with the first round of bids. After the Thanksgiving holiday, probably early December, that will be the time for the final bids. That'll be the final bids, and then Zazzab will decide which company he's going to sell to or, likely merge with going forward. So we see the three companies there: Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix. Now, I guess it is fair to note that of all these offers, Zazzab may decide, him and the board may decide, hey, let's kind of just stick with our plan to split, next spring, which that'll be very anticlimactic if he decides that. Most people are hoping that, just a deal gets made. But with the three, again, bidders here, Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix, Paramount seems to be the favorite, again, because they are being very aggressive. First off, sending multiple letters to the stockholders and saying, or the shareholders, and saying, why Paramount is the best offer, how it would benefit them the most. With Paramount making these offers publicly, is being known, they making offers to Warner Brothers. This has only helped the Warner Bros. Discovery stock. I mean, it's over $23 now. I mean, it's like tripled in within the year. The stock price was at $6 last year when I bought my shares. And so this was quite the investment. for this company. So in a sense, Warner Brothers Zazzle should be thanking Paramount for aggressively going after the company, because it's only raised the value of Warner Brothers. And now Paramount's like, hey, we ain't gonna overpay. No one else is trying to buy the whole company, right? So that remains to be seen how, what step they go further with that. But Comcast, notably, again, has always been a contender for the last 4 years. Is what we saw originally. Knowing that Zazzle would sell again, Comcast was always a name that came up. They had a chance to, bid on the entire company, and they decided to pass on the entire company, and they want to take it in pieces. Now, and Netflix is in the same boat as well. They just want the studio and streaming side. What may happen here, though Paramount's the favorite, Comcast or Netflix may have to drastically overpay to make it worth Warner Brothers' while to pass, on Paramount buying everything. So it remains to be seen. The details fully of the offers are not, the numbers aren't all out there, but I'm sure, once we get to the final round after Thanksgiving, we'll see, who remains after this first round. We know Paramount's going to be there in the end. Will Comcast or Netflix reconsider and pull out after Thanksgiving? We'll see. We'll see. But we are in the middle of this bid of who's going to control the Warner Brothers and DC interests. Now, one thing to consider as well, too, as far as why this is such a big deal. First off, Warner Brothers, again, is a storied studio. And again, all the IPs they have, the Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Willy Wonka, DC, Mortal Kombat, a piece of the MonsterVerse. Warner Bros. Has plenty of IPs, The Matrix. DC is a crown jewel. I keep hearing with this deal that DC is a big deal. And Zazzle, I said this a couple years ago, as far as with Superman, it wasn't about being just strictly a Superman, the James Gunn Superman story. It was to showcase the DC brand. It was a DC showcase film. Now, it's funny because James Gunn came on and denied my report on that, which was kind of, I chuckled. Y'all all saw Superman. Y'all saw James Gunn Superman. Was it not a showcase of DC? Now, it may not be the DC everyone, is considering, but to be fair, it did good enough for the current, Warner Brothers regime. One big part of who's ever going to buy DC, DC needs to be in a good place with the audience. It needs to show that it can be expansive. They got to make sure they can make money with this. And so, and then, like I said, it's got to be an audience pleaser. So that was very important for DC, for Zazzle, and everyone, James Gunn, to have that critical success and the audience success. They want to tout that, right? So that was an important key into that. And whoever buys Warner Brothers and DC, DC is a major part of that, and it has to show that potential. So going forward, as I said this on social media, James Gunn, what's really going to determine the future, if James Gunn is going to be there after this sale, if the sale, if the sale goes through, you set the ground level with James Gunn Superman. Supergirl has to do just as good or better, and Man of Tomorrow may have to crush it. It may, because if there's any lukewarm feeling after these next 2 summers, this Warner Brothers deal, they're going to, officially decide on it before Christmas. And then the deal will go through after the holidays. It usually takes like 2 years to close the deal. You're talking about 2028. Let's say Paramount, wins this bid. And that's when David Ellison and his crew, they're going to come in and And look at the books on all this stuff. What's successful? What's not? And we're just focusing on DC here. If DC is lukewarm, then that's they're going to be like, okay, well, we need to course correct, or use what works, get rid of what doesn't work. So this is sort of like an audition. James Gunn, his DCU, again, everyone gave the ground level. James Gunn, Superman, has got to ramp up going forward and continue to expand the universe and just show the value doing streaming shows and movies and everything like that. So we'll see. We'll see how this holds up, because DC has to work. It can't be like the Hamada regime again, like where the films are just bombing. The new owners are not going to allow that. So, and like I said, to be fair, James Gunn again got that critical success. He did get good audience scores by the metrics that's used for that. And so it's got to be more of the same, but it has to ramp up, because if there's any regression, then things are going to change after this deal fully closes, which would be a couple years from now. Now let's transition for a moment from the WB sale talk, and we'll get back to the Saudi connection in a moment here. But there was a report out there about Zack Snyder's Twilight of the Gods animated series, the Netflix series. Apparently, the first season seemed to have great reactions. Just seeing the feedback that I saw, I really didn't see any people that complained about it. I thought it had adequate viewership, but just according to this report, it's being said that it's not getting a second season. It seemed to have been in development. We've been trying to follow to see the possibility. Jay Oliva commented on the hopes for a second season, as he was a part of that team as well. And it seemed to have been the Twilight of the Gods. It seems to have charted well as far as globally. But according to, again, just what this report, what they're saying is that even though there was some early development work, that the plans are not coming to fruition. And that makes it very weird. It puts Netflix in a weird spot, because a lot of people are making the connection that Zack, has that contract with them, which he does, that first look deal. And then, it seemed like things were stalling with the Rebel Moon. I mean, Zack is ready to do Rebel Moon 3 and 4. Like, just give him the word. Army of the Dead, they seem to have put the animated Army of the Dead Las Vegas on hold. What about Planet of the Dead? Like, Zack, again, has his first look contract with Netflix. He extended that deal a couple of years ago. I reported that. But then things seem to be on hold. That story came out about the LA SWAT, the Zack Snyder LA SWAT film with Netflix. And there seems to have been some stalling with the funding for that LA SWAT project. And so Zack was like, well, hey, I'm going to go ahead and film The Last Photograph, which he's been posting a lot of cool stuff about. It's going to be visually, I think, a masterpiece. And likely what Zack would do, he filmed it, so he has funding from someone. And then he's probably going to sell that film, or, partner with someone to distribute the film. Maybe the Saudis will release it. I don't know. We'll see. But it just seems like it's a weird thing going on with Zack Snyder and Netflix. And I really, honestly, I don't know what to make of that. And so if Netflix buys DC, Warner Brothers, is this going to be some kind of skimping the cost for these productions? Because that's what Zack seems to be running into with Netflix. And this is an uncomfortable position to be in. So let me know in the comments below. I mean, because I know there's a group that's really pushing for Netflix to buy Warner Brothers and DC. I just don't feel too comfortable. If I'm looking at this as a Zack Snyder fan, I don't know. Like, are they really going to work with Zack? Because they haven't been working with Zack. They've been, kind of stalling on everything that he wants to do. If Netflix buys Warner Brothers and DC, and their whole frugal approach, they're going to be over Warner Brothers and DC with this frugal approach. I don't know. I just feel a little uncomfortable with the Netflix possibilities. And so we'll see. But I mean, right now, they're really not the favorites to win Warner Brothers. But if they end up, finding a way to, finagle a deal, I don't know how I'm really going to feel as far as the prospects, of making JO2. We're talking just when it comes down to it, we want the Knightmare movie, right? That's what we want. And I'm not sure if Netflix is ready to give us that. Now, speaking of the JO Knightmare movie and what they're ready to give us, Zack Snyder has been just giving us more and more on social media, dropping picture after picture. This appears to be Knightmare. And this is interesting because of all the different, Knightmare pictures Zack has been dropping. He's kind of showing that Knightmare Justice League, that group, where you have, Ben, Deathstroke, Joker, etc., Cyborg, Flash, Mera. What's Zack doing here, right? Is he seeding thoughts of Knightmare, the Knightmare movie? People are kind of just kind of coming to conclusions when, we understood when Zack, it's feeling like 2019 again. Zack would be dropping, like dark side stuff and things we never seen before, different angles. And we're like, what's going on? You talking about this Knightmare movie a lot. You're showing these Knightmare images. Like, what's next? Are we going to see a new Ray Fisher Cyborg picture? Because that'd make things very interesting. Are you going to see Knightmare Flash? Even Knightmare Superman? Like, what is going on? Zack is keeping DC in the conversation as we continue to conclude he's not done with DC. I feel there could be an angle that Zack would do DC again. And I guess he's trying to say it's the Knightmare movie. I mean, Zack set all this up in the Snyder Cut. He showed that Knightmare future, and now he can just give us that movie. So I'm just saying, like, what do you think in the comments there? Knightmare movie. Are we about to get this, man? What is it? Zack Snyder is up to something. And as he said a couple weeks ago, he's just getting started. He's just getting started with this. So we are going to be locked in to whatever activity. We're going to keep our ears open as far as, again, with the last photograph, who he's going to partner with to release that film. And then when Warner Brothers and DC is sold, we're going to definitely see who's going to allow Zack Snyder to do this Knightmare movie. Now, as I said in previous streams, and we'll kind of transition to this here, if whatever company gets Warner Brothers and control of DC, if there's any Saudi partnership at all, I feel that's going to be a very interesting, that I think it would really be a possibility. We can kind of go into that because at times I pull viewers' questions or comments from the comment section, and then we kind of touch on that topic. So someone made a comment, and I want to address this, and that will help us again get more into the Saudi conversation. So let's do it. This is questions and comments from viewers. Let's roll it.
Questions from viewers with sylabdul.
questions from viewers, questions and comments from viewers. Wanted to bring this one up here because this is kind of going to help touch on the full Saudi conversation, the Turkey al-Sheikh, his connection with the PIF, that's a Saudi public investment fund, and everything, and why do we think it's such a connection with the Snyderverse? Because, like I said, people, they just kind of make comments. Like I said, I'm past the point where we're just gonna let stuff slide anymore. People, are allowing false rumors, are just blindly pushing false stories when there's real, but then they ignore when there's real evidence there. And that's really a pet peeve of mine. I'm seeing more and more people not even caring about the source of stuff anymore. They're just what sounds good. And I guess that's just the game. And maybe, I'm old school now. Maybe I'm just too much of an OG now, and that, this is another generation game. And, one day, I probably won't have to do this anymore. Leave it up to other people to pass on information. But with this invigoration of the Saudi connection, I really feel it's going to be some interesting stories, especially if, let's say Paramount gets Warner Brothers and the Saudis are connected with it. This is going to be a very interesting couple years of the possibility restoring the Snyderverse. It really is going to be interesting. So, as I said before, I've been saying this for several episodes that, I take it very seriously, trying to give y'all correct information. I try to, source stuff. Obviously, at times you can't always know the sources of everyone, but I think my track record is what it is. And so when I said earlier this year about the Saudi connection, and then it seems to be coming to fruition, now it's been confirmed that they've been talking, with Paramount for months. So we've been ahead of the curve. So I take that seriously. So if you want to challenge what I say, you got to come correct. Now, I warned this person in the chat a couple of times, and they seem to still want to play in my face. So we're going to make this an entire segment about what they're trying to say here. This user says there's zero information regarding Turkey al-Sheikh in any major trade. He is a chairman of the GEA. It is not a division of PIF, which is Saudi Arabia investment firm that is ranked by the Crown Prince. Turkey has zero power over the PIF. It is not his investment. This is very disingenuous. And so what I will say to this user, the next time you put a blatantly, disingenuous comment in my chat, you will be banned on the channel. Just come back with your other burner or something, because this is so disingenuous, and we're going to clear this up today. So let's break this down. Turkey al-Sheikh, he has zero power over the PIF. No one is claiming Turkey al-Sheikh has power over the PIF, and we'll break this down for everyone. Since, again, if you want to test what I'm telling people, we'll fully flesh this out today. The only true thing that's in this statement is that Turkey al-Sheikh is chairman of the GEA. What is the GEA? That is the entertainment branch of all of Saudi, Arabia. Turkey al-Sheikh is the entertainment guy, right? Now, does that mean he's not a part of the PIF at all? The GEA and the PIF collaborate closely. So yeah, these are two separate entities, but they collaborate closely to ensure the entertainment sector's growth aligns with national strategy. So you got the entertainment sector, that's GEA. Turkey al-Sheikh is ahead of that, yes. PIF is the national strategy. The Saudi prince is ahead of that. The GEA focuses on regulation and creating opportunities. Business, WWE, WrestleMania is going to be out there. We'll talk about the UFC film in just a moment. The PIF provides the substantial capital and establishes a large-scale transformative projects necessary to build a self-sustaining and vibrant entertainment ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. They both work closely. The GEA creates entertainment and business opportunities. The PIF funds it if they deem that it's worth funding. We'll get to a project. Well, like I said, they already agree with the WWE connection. GEA, Turkey Al-Sheikh, is look at him as he's like the Peter Safran of Saudi entertainment, right? And Turkey Al-Sheikh was like, hey, we could do some WWE business. I need some funding, PIF. And then that deal was made. Do we understand how this works, right? So, yeah, technically, is Turkey Al-Sheikh controlling the PIF? No one has ever suggested that. But when we mention PIF, I'm wrapping this all up in one bundle that the GEA gets their funding from the PIF. And that's just known facts. It's sad that people can just spew anything without proper research. Or if you're going to challenge someone, like I said, you make sure you do your research. If you're going to challenge me, because I carefully craft whatever I present to y'all. And maybe that's just a lost art. Like I said, maybe, people don't care about what's true anymore, right? Maybe people don't care about sourcing anymore. And like I said, maybe my style will fade away. And that's fine. I'll be fine, either way. If, this platform, if platforms like mine is just not needed and people just rather fake information and just wild, wild west, then yeah, I mean, maybe it's time, my time will be done, but right now, like I said, there's a lot of energy with the potential, what the Saudis can do. And I only presented that to my viewers because I knew the connections of the GEA and PIF. And just to make it easy for the listeners, I just say it's all part of the PIF, which in a sense it is. So as I said with this user, stop the fake posts, research. If you're going to challenge me, maybe you don't need to research or challenge other people. But, for 5 years doing this, I take true information very seriously. And those, I don't have to respond to everything like this because I know there's a good portion of my long-term viewers who knows how I roll. And I'm good with just that portion of viewers. I know people, again, they want this wild, wild west stuff, sensationalized news, rumors, whether it's true or not. I'm just not interested in all that. I like the excitement of, hey, this is a real tip. Hey, this could really happen, right? Like Ben Affleck and Aquaman. I broke that story. I detailed Henry Cavill Black Adam scene. I broke that story. It wasn't just to sensationalize y'all. It was to say, hey, this is cool. This is from a good source. All that stuff's been confirmed. Now, definitely the George Clooney scoop. I wasn't trying to sensationalize anything like that. I was just like, this is what's about to happen, yo. I don't know. It's off the rails. When I said earlier this year, the Saudi involvement, it's all lining up with what I've been hearing. So that's what keeps me going. Like I said, hey, one day maybe the stories will stop. But I think we're going to, again, have a very interesting couple of years of the potential of the Saudi connection and for Zack doing DC again. Strongly believe that. And we'll see how that comes about. But let's go a little further. Let's go a little further with this, just to make it very clear to people why am I putting so much stake in this Saudi connection? Because it's been seeded for the longest. I remember earlier this year in March, very funny timing. I was hearing about Saudi wanting Warner Brothers earlier in March. Then at the end of March, this deal is announced. Zack Snyder to direct Brawler, teaming with Dana White's UFC, Saudi minister Turkey Al-Sheikh. Interesting timing with that, right? There's no coincidence in this game. Okay. There was some movement back then. Now, again, we're hearing potential Saudis having a minority stake in Warner Brothers. And part of their deal is that they could use one of WB's major IPs. But I'd already discussed that on my Geek channel. Check out that video for more details on that leaked Paramount deal, including the Saudis. But what makes this interesting, because again, that question that we pulled, that comment from the viewers, they seem to be confused, again, how the PIF worked with the GEA. PIF funds GEA. Turki Al-Sheikh is head of GEA. And so Turki Al-Sheikh announced this Brawler film. This is a film. I think another thing people tried to say, well, Turki Al-Sheikh, he only deals with sports. This is a movie. Now, as a sports film, yes. He thought of an idea. He partnered with UFC and Zack Snyder, Stone Quarry, for a movie. We remember this. I read this live. I just see people getting amnesia about what this is telling us. Zack Snyder teams with UFC and His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh on Brawler film. Acclaimed filmmaker Zack Snyder, known for his groundbreaking approach, meticulous detail, captivating style, and humanized portrayal of his characters, has partnered with UFC, the world's premier mixed martial arts organization, and Turki Al-Sheikh, to create the film Brawler. Snyder will direct the film, serve as a writer alongside writers, executive producer Shay Haddon, who helped with Rebel Moon, and Kurt Johnstad, who helped with Rebel Moon as well, and 300, the acclaimed 300. Check this out. Turki Al-Sheikh, right? He just do sports, right? No? It says Snyder, Deborah Snyder, Wesley Collar will produce through Stone Quarry. So Stone Quarry is a producer on this partnership. It says with Al-Sheikh, that's GEA, right? So you got Stone Quarry is a producer. The GEA is a producer. How's the GEA going to fund this? Through the PIF, right? So we understand when I say PIF, that's an all-encompassing term, right? And, I hate to have to break it down like this, but I'm just trying to show people an example of how, the business is made with the Saudis right now. Then you have, again, a UFC as well. So they're all executive producers on this film. Look at this quote from Turki Al-Sheikh. He's the chairman of the General Entertainment Authority. Yes. And they're funded by the PIF. He says, I've been a fan of Zack's work for years. His unique style, from his iconic action sequences to his sweeping visuals and intensely emotional storytelling, coupled with his humanized portrayal of deeply flawed characters in Singular. I couldn't think of a better person to partner with to bring the UFC to the screen. The Ring magazine, with his 103-year legacy, will support and ensure the project's success. He couldn't think of anyone else but Zack Snyder. So we understand this is a partnership. Turki Al-Sheikh, GEA, said, hey, we want to basically use the UFC IP. You can't just use the UFC IP without a partnership with Dana White. So if the GEA wants to use DC IP, you can't do that unless, hey, you have a share of Warner Brothers, DC. And according to that leaked deal with Paramount, is that if the GEA deemed, hey, we want to do a Snyderverse film, they would have the rights to do it. That's how rights work. We got a quote from Dana White, the CEO of UFC. Says he, Turkey Al-Sheikh, and Zack Snyder have a shared vision to create a film about UFC. So it sounds like collaborations between Turkey Al-Sheikh and Zack Snyder. They are both very passionate about this project to show fans what it takes to become a UFC champion. It's an incredibly ambitious project, and I look forward to seeing it come to life. So partnership between the two. And again, we got more comments about Stone Quarry. Stone Quarry is already in a partnership with the GEA. You don't think more is coming if they have access to DC? Like I said, all I could do is show you 1 + 1 = 2, y'all. It says Stone Quarry was co-founded by director, writer, producer, director of photography Zack Snyder, his wife, producing partner Deborah Snyder, with producer Wesley Collard. Stone Quarry most recently produced recent hits: Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire, Army of the Dead, Army of Thieves, Twilight of the Gods for Netflix. Netflix got a lot of stuff from Zack. And just to remind some people, because I see, again, we're not letting nothing slide. I reported on Rebel Moon the combined nearly 200 million views for the Rebel Moon saga, all under one budget. 200 million views puts it amongst, as I said, it'll be top 2 ever for one project. Rebel Moon, he made all this under one budget, $166 million. And he was able to get 4 releases out of that one budget. This is how business works. And that's the viewership that he garnered. Now, as I said, Netflix fumbled the R-rated cuts, releasing that, trying to stir up some kind of Snyder cut situation. These are the numbers. So Rebel Moon, yes, was a success. I detailed that in real time. People still want to regress to what they hear on the internet. They don't care about sourcing. That's what I'm saying. It's like maybe my style just doesn't fit, you know what I'm saying, the YouTube algorithm. I like facts. Like I said, I'm here as long as people want facts. If people don't care about facts, then, you know, that maybe it'll be time for me to hang it up. But I cover all this in real time. Rebel Moon was a success. Netflix fumbled. Says upcoming, they are in development on an untitled LAPD project for Netflix, marking their 4th feature to fall under the creative partnership between Stone Quarry and Netflix. The Snyders most notably produced Zack Snyder's Justice League for HBO Max, which garnered critical acclaim, global phenomenon, and wildly successful cultural phenomenon, remains one of the platform's most viewed film debuts. I covered this on my channel in real time with my friends at Sama TV, but people want to resort to internet memes, you know, and just stuff that they want to hear. But when facts is provided, it's like everyone gets quiet. And continue. Stone Quarry, you got Wonder Woman, 84 as well. David Ayer's Suicide Squad, acclaimed DCE title, The Suicide Squad, that was, you know, got producer credits on it. Man of Steel, BVS, Aquaman 300, Watchmen, among others. So that's just the example we knew months ago as far as this partnership with Stone Quarry and GEA, and how GEA is directly connected with the PIF. So I use it interchangeably. I use that term interchangeably. That, you know, Turkey Al-Sheikh is collaborating with the PIF all the time. And they already have this UFC film set up with Zack Snyder using the UFC IP. Now, and And this, again, whose idea for this film? It wasn't the UFC banging down their doors. It was Zack Snyder and Turki Al-Sheikh collaborating to make this film. So now what do you think is going to happen if the GEA, Turki Al-Sheikh, according to that leaked Paramount deal, that they can get, they can use one major IP from Warner Brothers? How you just saw that quote. The most notable thing Zack Snyder appears to have done worldwide is Zack Snyder's Justice League. You can't possibly see all these threads connecting and say, oh, it's just a nothing burger? It's just, okay. They already showed they can get a deal done with using other IPs, UFC. Now you actually going to have access. If you get Zack Snyder, you have access to all of Warner Brothers IPs, and you have Zack Snyder closely already working with you. What do you think they're going to do, folks? So yes, this dream is alive. This still means something. I refuse to allow people to cross up information, to downplay these connections, and say, there's no hope that Zack can do DC again. We see all the threads lining up. And I just detailed to you how that deal would work. So we're riding this train. And again, if part of this is, the Saudis, they are in on the Paramount deal. And we talked about the terms of that, of how they'll have access to a major IP. The Saudis just told you in that letter, the biggest thing Zack Snyder has done globally is ZSJL. So you probably want to do more of that, right? If given the opportunity, if only you had the IP. I'm not going to allow people to downplay the Saudi connection, because we've been talking about this all year. This isn't something from some fake news site on Twitter. We've been on top of this months ago. This still means something. There is hope. And I'm just going to be very clear. If Paramount gets this deal, I think we're going to get the Snyderverse. If Comcast gets the deal, I still think there's an opportunity. It's just, hey, if the Saudis are in on a potential Comcast deal, then I'll have that same energy. I'm honestly not too sure about Netflix. I'm just going to be honest. As far as if Netflix wins the bid, I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. There's nothing wrong with having some hope in the Snyderverse and seeing Zack Snyder's activity online. It's just, we're getting those same feelings again where, man, Zack could really have a chance. Him and Turki Al-Sheikh, they collaborated about the UFC film months before the announcement, before the partnership with UFC, before they was able to use the UFC IP. You don't think they're having conversations right now if the GEA can use DC now? You don't think they talking about that? Then Zack's getting very active. That is my theory. It isn't about giving you a guarantee, but all those crumbs I just showed y'all today, if you don't think that don't add up to nothing, then like I said, maybe this space isn't for me anymore. If you don't see this connection, this is not a guarantee that the Snyderverse is restored. Nothing can be restored until this deal, you got to have the deal. Someone has to buy Warner Brothers first. Nothing's restored yet. But that same hope we had in 2019, and then the Snyder Cut was announced 2020. Zack was all active in 2019. Behind the scenes, things was being put together. Fast forward to this year. Zack is active on social media, talking DC, showing the Knightmare League pictures. and maybe some things is going behind the scenes. Him and Turkey Al-Sheikh, GEA, PIF, is plotting. That's my theory. Again, this is not a guarantee, but this is hope. This still means something. Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear rebuttals, because we'll break it down just like we broke down the one we did today.
Stay tuned.
Sylabdul ink through speak true as he bring the news. Coffee talk, stay brew, kick back, get real comfortable. Here to stay, no on delay, make sure I be's informed. On the road, on the go, playing ball on that pavement floor. It's the lifestyle right now, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Guaranteed all week's going to always be on time. That's my word, y'all heard from Il Gavino, Vega's mouth. What's the words much more than what these networks talk about?